On Christmas Day, my daughter gave her stepdad a $20,000 car and gave me a handkerchief with the inscription, "Worst dad ever." After a week, she called me crying, "Dad, don't do this." What happened next was rather unexpected. I will tell you how everything unfolded. First, let me quickly thank you for your continuous support. This means a lot to us. If you enjoy the stories we share, kindly subscribe to this channel. It will be great if you can leave a comment on which city you are watching from. We might just give you a shout-out in our next story. Today's special shout-out goes to Evelyn Keene from New York. We are glad you enjoy our stories. Now let's go deeper into the story. I used to tell myself that being a provider was enough. That if I worked hard, paid every bill on time, and kept my daughter's world spinning without a single missed tuition payment or empty fridge, I had done my job as a father. That was my truth for the better part of 25 years. My name is Raymond, and I built a financial consulting firm from the ground up after my divorce, mostly in silence, with no one but my books and balance sheets to keep me company. My daughter, Brielle, was 7 when her mother remarried. By the time she was 10, she started calling her stepfather Dad, and I became Ray. That was the first time I felt like a guest in my own child's life. But I still showed up. Birthdays, school recitals, graduations. Never empty-handed. Always on time. Always pretending it didn't cut me open every time she looked through me like I wasn't even there. Christmas Day was always complicated. Some years I didn't get an invite at all, and other times, like this one, I got a polite nod in the form of an email. Dinner at 4. Mom's house. Nothing warm. No call. No real welcome. Just logistics. But I showed up anyway, wearing the same dark wool coat she once said made me look like a detective. That used to make her giggle. Now she didn't even glance up as I stepped into the house. It smelled like cinnamon and pine, but the tension was sharp and unspoken. Brielle stood at the center of the living room, practically glowing, holding a key fob in a tiny black box. Everyone had already gathered. Her mother, her stepfather Gerald, a few friends, even Gerald's niece who somehow got a better greeting than I did. "Gerald," she said, her voice bright, "you've always been the man who showed up. So I wanted to give you something that shows how much I appreciate you." She placed the box in his hands like it was sacred. The room gasped when he opened it. Sleek, silver Audi keys sat nestled inside. "A new car." Gerald beamed. "No, your car. The Audi RS5 we test drove last month? I bought it yesterday. It's yours." The room erupted in cheers. Everyone stood and hugged. I sat frozen, my hands wrapped tightly around the coffee mug I brought with me because no one ever offered me one. I forced a smile. This wasn't about the money. I could buy 10 of those cars without blinking. But it wasn't about the car. It was about what it meant, what she was saying without saying it. Then she turned to me, finally acknowledging I existed. "I didn't forget about you," she said with a sarcastic smile. "Here." She tossed a small package across the coffee table like it was an afterthought. I opened it slowly. A pale blue handkerchief, monogrammed in dark navy thread. "Worst dad ever." Laughter followed. I looked up, unsure if I was supposed to laugh too or cry. Her friends were cackling like it was the funniest gag of the night. Gerald offered a pitying smile. Her mother said nothing. Brielle stood there, arms crossed, satisfied. I folded the handkerchief once, then again, and slipped it into my coat pocket. "That's clever," I said, my voice hollow. "Thanks." She shrugged. "Just a joke. Lighten up." But I wasn't laughing. I didn't say another word the rest of the night. I watched as she poured wine for Gerald and cut slices of pecan pie for everyone but me. I sat in that crowded room, surrounded by people I used to consider family, now relegated to the status of furniture. That was when it hit me. I wasn't being ignored. I was being erased. On the drive home, I didn't play any music. I didn't even turn on the heat. I needed the cold to keep me awake. I thought about the house she lived in, the one she thought Gerald gifted her. I thought about the car under her name, the company internship she bragged about getting through networking. She never knew I was behind all of it. I had set it all up quietly because I wanted her to feel like she earned it. I wanted her to feel empowered. But instead, she weaponized that power against me. As I pulled into my driveway, I took the handkerchief out and stared at the stitching. Worst dad ever. Maybe that was how she saw me. Maybe that was how I let myself be seen. Too passive, too patient, too eager for her love. I placed the handkerchief on the entryway table and looked at it one last time. Not anymore, I whispered. And just like that, something hardened inside me. I wasn't going to beg for scraps of affection. Not from her. Not from anyone. I had given her the world. And she handed me a punchline. The next morning, I made a few phone calls. For 7 days, the phone didn't ring once. Not a text. Not a Merry Christmas follow-up. Not even a forwarded meme pretending to bridge the distance. The silence wasn't surprising, but it was loud. Louder than it had ever been before. And this time, I didn't try to fill it. I didn't chase her down with guilt-ridden calls or messages carefully written and rewritten, trying to sound supportive instead of wounded. I had done that dance for over a decade, tap dancing around my daughter's discomfort with my existence. I used to believe if I just stayed long enough in her orbit, bought her enough safety nets and quiet sacrifices, she'd eventually come back to me. But this time, after that handkerchief, something snapped. It was like watching a bridge burn while standing on the last wooden plank and finally realizing there's no way back across. I had always thought time and love could rebuild what divorce tore down. But love without respect is a slow humiliation, and I was done playing the fool. I spent that first day back combing through old records, paperwork I'd buried under more sentimental clutter, like her kindergarten drawings and report cards. I dusted off the lease agreement for the house she lived in, the one in her name, but purchased under my private trust. Gerald had made a lot of noise about being the family man, but he was still rebuilding credit after a failed business in 2014, and I was the silent backer who stepped in when the down payment needed to be handled quickly. I also looked at the title for the white Mercedes she drove, again, a gift from him, but the lien had always been under my corporate holding company. She didn't know any of that. I made sure she wouldn't. I wanted her to feel like she had something built by love, not by legality. But love had turned cruel. And legalities, well, those I could control. The next morning, I called Marcus, my estate lawyer. "Ray," he said, surprised, "didn't expect to hear from you during the holidays." "Yeah, well," I muttered. Plans changed. I laid it out clearly, revoke Brielle's corporate internship set to begin next month. Cancel her access badge. Flag her file as ineligible through standard HR protocols. It wouldn't raise alarms, just a quiet, routine withdrawal. Then came the property side. I instructed him to terminate the trust occupancy clause on the house. She'd have 30 days to vacate unless she renegotiated under her own name. The car? Simple. Remote disablement through the app installed during her insurance setup. All legit. All clean. No drama. Just the tightening of strings she never realized were attached. Marcus paused before hanging up. "You sure you want to go this far?" I didn't answer right away. I stared at the framed picture on my desk, me holding Brielle in one arm, cake frosting on both our noses. She must have been 4. Back when everything was simple. Before I became the villain in her mother's bedtime stories. She humiliated me, I finally said. In front of strangers. On purpose. And it's not the first time. It's just the last straw. Marcus sighed. "I'll get it done." After that call, the days bled together. Quiet mornings with coffee and bitter memory. Afternoons pacing my office, replaying every moment of Christmas Day. I kept wondering if she'd call. Wondering if maybe she'd realize, maybe even apologize. But nothing came. Not until day 7. I was halfway through reading a quarterly review report when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost let it go to voicemail. But something tugged at me, an old instinct, maybe. I picked up. "Dad?" Her voice cracked like glass underfoot. I didn't say anything. "Dad, it's me. It's Brielle. Please, don't do this." Silence stretched between us. I could hear traffic in the background, maybe the shuffling of feet. She was crying. Not the performative kind I'd seen before. This was gut-wrenched, breathless. I went to check into the company today, and they said my offer was revoked. No explanation. My badge didn't work. And then when I got back, the door wouldn't open. The code was changed. Still, I said nothing. "Dad, please. I know you did this. I know it's you. Just talk to me. Tell me what I need to do to fix this." That was the moment. Right there. Not Christmas. Not the handkerchief. Not even the laughter. That moment, when she finally admitted what I had meant all along. Not as a wallet, not as a shadow, but as the one who never left. I should have felt vindicated, but all I felt was empty. What about Gerald? I asked calmly. What did he say? She hesitated. He said it wasn't his problem, that I'd have to figure it out. I exhaled, long and tired. I told you, I said, voice low, that man shows up when the cameras are on. I've been there when no one was. I know, she whispered. I know. I messed up. I was trying to be funny. I didn't think, you never think. I cut her off, sharper than I meant. You never once stopped to ask how much I've done. And now that you've lost everything, suddenly I'm dad again? She was sobbing now. It twisted something in me, but I didn't let it soften my voice. Go ask your best dad, Brielle. See if he can fix it. Please, don't hang up. I need you. I stared at the handkerchief still lying on my hallway table, neatly folded, just as she gave it. I needed you too, I said. And then I ended the call. I didn't sleep that night. Not even a minute. I lay in bed, fully dressed, my mind chasing itself in cruel, looping circles. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard her voice again. Dad, please don't do this. And underneath the pleading, I can still hear the laughter from Christmas Day, echoing in that room like the punchline had been carved into my chest. It wasn't about the gift, or even the insult stitched into the fabric. It was the way she dismissed me, as if I were some relic of her childhood, a dusty old shame she kept around out of obligation. That handkerchief wasn't a joke. It was a message. You're not real to me anymore. But suddenly, now that her life was unraveling, I had value again. Now, stripped of comfort and convenience, she remembered who kept the lights on behind the curtain. And the thing is, I wasn't angry when she called. Not really. I was tired. Tired of having to prove I was worthy of my own daughter's love. The next morning, I brewed coffee just to hold the warmth in my hands. I didn't drink it. I stood in the kitchen, watching the winter light creep across the tiles, wondering how long it would take before the next call came. It didn't take long. By 9:15, she was back, this time from her real number. Dad, she said quickly, as if rushing to beat her own shame, can we please talk? In person? I'll come to you. Just, don't hang up. I didn't hang up. I let the silence stretch until she filled it with words. I'm sorry, she said. I swear to God, I didn't mean for it to go that far. I was trying to be funny. I was trying to make people laugh, and I didn't realize how cruel it was. You didn't deserve that. I know that now. Her voice broke again, and this time it wasn't performative. I could hear the fatigue, the desperation beneath every syllable. I haven't been able to get into the house. I've been sleeping on Lacey's couch. Gerald hasn't even checked in on me. He texted me once, just to say he's sorry things are weird. He said it's not his mess to fix. And the car won't start. I tried everything. I know you're the only one who can unlock it. Please, Dad. I get it now. I get what I did. I leaned against the counter, the ceramic mug cooling in my palm. There it was. The thing I had waited half a lifetime to hear. But instead of satisfaction, all I felt was this strange, numb ache, like grief, but colder. Because now I knew it wasn't love she had for me, it was utility. Need. I was the emergency lever behind glass. I spoke slowly, deliberately. You know, I spent years just hoping you'd call me Dad again. Not because you needed something, just because you wanted to. I do want to, she said quickly, voice small. I just didn't know how. Everything Mom said about you, it colored everything for so long. I guess I didn't want to see past it. Convenient, I said. You didn't want to see past it until you lost the house, the car, and the job. I know. I know how it looks. But I swear, this isn't just about the stuff. There was a pause. Then she added, quieter, it's about you. I miss you. I want to fix it. Her voice cracked there, like she wasn't sure how far she could go. And for a second, I saw her again. The 5-year-old who used to fall asleep on my chest watching cartoons. Her tiny fingers curled into the collar of my shirt. The teenager who rolled her eyes, but still called me when she ran out of gas. The young woman who stood at her college graduation, thanking everyone but me. She'd spent years erasing me, and now she wanted a rewrite. I'm not stopping you from fixing anything, I said, careful to keep my tone steady. You're just going to have to fix it without the safety net. What does that mean? It means, I replied, you're going to have to get a job on your own. Rent a place on your own. Learn what it's like to live without someone always catching you. That's what adults do. So this is punishment? No, I said. It's boundaries. She exhaled sharply, like someone had slapped her. I don't have anyone else, she said. Maybe you should think about why that is. The silence on the other end was deafening. She didn't argue. She didn't curse or cry harder. She just went quiet. I'll figure it out, she whispered finally. Thanks for nothing. Before I could respond, she hung up. I didn't move for a long time after that. The coffee had gone cold. My legs felt heavy. I knew what I had done. I hadn't just closed the door. I had locked it. And it wasn't easy. Every bone in my body ached to run after her, to undo it, to fix what was broken. But I also knew, if I did that, nothing would ever change. She'd go back to calling Gerald Dad the second her bank account refilled. She'd tell herself this was just another phase of my bitterness, not the final stage of my heartbreak. And so I stood there, still and resolute, letting the pain settle in my chest like concrete. Later that evening, a friend of mine, John, a retired cop I played poker with every other Friday, dropped by to return a book he borrowed. He noticed the tension in my shoulders before I said a word. You all right, Ray? He asked. I nodded, but I didn't lie. No, I said, but I'm doing what needs to be done. He tilted his head, thoughtful. Tough love. No, I said again. Just love. Minus the lies. He nodded, understanding more than I expected. You're not the villain, Ray, he said quietly. Sometimes being the good guy means being the bad guy in someone else's story. And maybe that was true. Maybe I was finally stepping into the role she'd cast me in. The worst dad ever. But if that's what it took to force her to grow up, to finally see me as more than a punching bag in a suit, then so be it. The first wave didn't come from Brielle. It came from her mother, sharp and venomous, right on schedule. I was slicing an apple when the call came through, and I don't know why I answered. Maybe I wanted to hear the words aloud. Maybe I needed to know she still had that same fire after all these years, even if it was always aimed squarely at my chest. What the hell did you do? She snapped. No greeting, no pause. Brielle's a wreck. She's staying with friends. She can't get into her own home, and she told me you shut off her car. I took my time chewing. It's not her home. It's mine. Legally. And that car was leased through my company. She didn't own anything. You're seriously going to humiliate your own daughter because of a stupid joke? I could hear the whine in her voice. Late morning, too early for reason. The same bitter edge she'd wielded in every courtroom and co-parenting meeting. No, I said calmly. I did it because she's been treating me like a ghost for years. And I finally stopped haunting. You're punishing her for resenting you. That's rich. You were never there for the emotional stuff, Ray. You just threw money at everything and expected it to buy love. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. And you poisoned her against me every chance you got. Told her I abandoned her. Told her I didn't care. But guess who bailed her out when your perfect husband's credit tanked? Guess who made sure she had a safe place to live and a car to drive? I did it all behind the scenes because I wanted her to believe the world wasn't such a scary place. I didn't want to compete. I just wanted her happy. There was a pause. Not silence, but pause, the sound of someone scrambling for the next round. You always thought money made up for everything, she said. But you never gave her what she needed. And you made sure she never saw what I gave. She hung up. A few hours later, the second wave came, more subtle, more insidious. A cousin tagged me in a cryptic Facebook post. Sometimes, the people who claim to love you are the ones who sabotage you the most. No names, no context, but people knew. Within minutes, messages started trickling in. Is everything okay with Brielle? Heard some dramas going down. Not my place, but damn, that Christmas gift was cold, man. And then came the subtweets from her friends. College girls I remembered paying for when Brielle's tuition came up short. If my dad did that to me, I'd cut him off forever. Funny, I thought. Cut me off? I haven't even been on the grid in years. I didn't respond. I didn't defend myself. But something inside me began to fray, not regret, not guilt, but a kind of exhaustion that set in when you realize you're fighting a battle no one else knows you're in. I'd become the villain in a story I financed. And now, the world had a front row seat. That weekend, my niece Tasha came by Brielle's age, bright, blunt, and never one to tiptoe around tension. She walked in holding 2 lattes and a furrowed brow. She's really milking this, she said, settling into my armchair without being asked. Posted a TikTok yesterday crying about being disowned by a narcissist parent. Had some sad piano music and everything. I didn't react. Just sipped the latte. But you know what? Tasha continued. Half the comments were calling her out. Someone posted a clip from her old vlog where she bragged about getting a free car and having 2 dads. People put 2 and 2 together real quick. That surprised me. People defended me? Not everyone, but enough to rattle her. She deleted it this morning. She's spiraling, Uncle Ray. But I gotta say, I don't blame you. What she did? That handkerchief? That was next level cruel. I stared at the fireplace, the same one she used to hang stockings on when she still spent holidays here. There was a knot in my chest I couldn't seem to loosen. I didn't want to ruin her life, I said, mostly to myself. You didn't, Tasha replied. You just stopped paying for her illusion. Later that evening, the third wave hit at a family dinner hosted by my brother. I promised I'd come weeks ago. Didn't want to back out and give anyone more fuel for the narrative. But the minute I walked in, I felt it. Every pair of eyes sizing me up, waiting for the villain to monologue. Ray, my cousin Daryl said, glass in hand. Mind if I ask, what's the real story with Betrayal? Everyone's talking. I didn't want to do this. Not here. Not in front of second cousins and toddlers with sticky fingers. But it was already happening. She gave me a handkerchief, I said, looking around the room. Embroidered. Said, worst dad ever. Then gave her stepfather a $20,000 car. That's the real story. The room quieted. Even the toddlers stopped. I let the silence marinate. Then I added, so I turned off the faucet. Let her learn what life looks like without the man she claims to hate. Someone clapped. One clap, then another. My brother, oddly enough. You did what needed to be done, he said, loud enough for the room to hear. About time someone in this family grew a spine. Not everyone agreed, I could tell. But for the first time in years, I didn't feel crazy. I felt seen. On the drive home, I didn't cry. I didn't celebrate. I just felt the weight of everything. The years I tried, the love I offered, the silence I endured. Maybe I hadn't been the perfect father, but I'd never walked away. I stayed. I gave. I hoped. And now, finally, I had stopped. By the following Tuesday, it was no longer just whispers in the family or murmurs among friends. It had become spectacle. Social media had a way of making private pain into public theater, and Betrayal played her part like a seasoned actress. She posted a carousel of childhood photos, ones I hadn't seen in years, captioned with a carefully crafted story that made her sound like the abandoned, emotionally starved daughter of a cold, corporate machine. She didn't name me directly, but it didn't take much to connect the dots. She talked about how money doesn't make a father, how she had been discarded for speaking her truth, and how she was starting over from rock bottom after a lifetime of walking on eggshells. It was manipulative, dishonest, and masterfully done. Within hours, the post had racked up thousands of likes and hundreds of comments, strangers offering sympathy, high school friends tagging each other in disbelief, and a few influencers weighing in with pithy affirmations like, healing means cutting off even blood if it's toxic. I sat at my desk, watching the numbers tick up. My name wasn't trending, but in our little town, I had become the cautionary tale of the week. A walking headline. I didn't respond. Not yet. But then came the part that broke something in me, not the post itself, but the phone call from my assistant, Carla, the next morning. Ray, she said cautiously, we have a situation. One of our junior analysts shared Betrayal's post on her story. HR flagged it. It's spreading through the office. That was the line. My private humiliation was now bleeding into my professional world, the place I built from scratch when everything else had collapsed. I'll handle it, I said tightly. And I did, scheduled a staff-wide reminder about professionalism, social media boundaries, and confidential matters. I never mentioned Betrayal by name, but everyone knew. I didn't think it could get worse until that Saturday, when I ran into Gerald at the grocery store of all places. I almost didn't recognize him at first. He looked thinner, more worn. But the moment he saw me, his jaw tightened, and he changed course from the frozen aisle straight into my path. Ray, he said, with a forced smile. Funny seeing you here. Figured you'd be hiding out. I placed the frozen peas in my cart and met his eyes calmly. Not hiding. Just grocery shopping. He chuckled, but there was no humor in it. You really did a number on Brielle, he said. She's staying with her friend's parents now. Said she's never seen you like this. And you? I asked. Where are you staying? That caught him. His smile faded. She told me you ghosted the minute things got complicated. He scoffed. She's 25, Ray. Not a child. If she can't handle a few setbacks, maybe she's not as grown as she thinks. I studied him for a moment, seeing through the smooth lines and old rehearsed charm that had seduced my daughter into believing he was the better version of me. But there it was, his true self. Detached. Aloof. Gone the second the emotional tab came due. Funny, I said. You were the first to call me a narcissist father, but you bailed faster than anyone when she needed you. I'm not her father, he said. No, I agreed. But you let her call you dad. You encouraged it. Bought her loyalty with half-truths and handouts you couldn't afford. You wanted the title without the responsibility. His face reddened. You're bitter. No, I said. I'm finished. We stood there, two men in the middle of the frozen food aisle, the remnants of a decades-long triangle finally exposed for what it was. Not love. Not family. Just performance. He turned without another word, pushing his cart away like he hadn't just been undressed in public. Later that evening, I got a voicemail from Brielle. She didn't call, just sent her words into the void, like a message in a bottle thrown from the shore. I saw the post. I didn't mean for it to explode like that. I just needed to say something. I didn't think it would go viral. I didn't want it to affect your work. I just felt so alone, and I wanted people to see me. I'm sorry if I crossed a line. No request. No plea. Just a breadcrumb of regret. And it stirred something strange in me. Pity, maybe. Or mourning. For what we used to be. That night, I sat in my study and stared at the blank notepad in front of me. I didn't write anything down. I just let the weight of everything settle. The betrayal. The spectacle. The cold reality that no matter how hard I tried to be her father, she would always choose the image that made her feel safest, even if it wasn't real. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was an email. From a former client. Subject line, thinking of you. Inside, just one sentence. You did what every parent secretly wants to do, but never dares, stand up for themselves. I stared at that line for a long time. Maybe I wasn't the monster she painted me as. Maybe I was just the first man in her life to stop enabling the lie. The letter arrived on a Tuesday afternoon, tucked inside a plain envelope with no return address. I recognized her handwriting instantly, small, neat, slightly curved from the way she used to grip her pencil. It was the same hand that once drew crayon stick figures of us at the park, long before we learned how to wound each other with grown-up words. For a long while, I didn't open it. I placed it on the counter beside the stack of bills and magazines, touched it once or twice like it might burn me, then walked away. I wasn't afraid of what was inside. I was afraid of what it might ask me to feel. 3 days passed before I finally opened it. Dad, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't even know if I want to ask you to. I guess I'm writing this because silence feels worse than your anger. And because for the first time in my life, I'm starting to understand how much you really did for me, and how little I ever gave in return. I was angry. For a long time. Not just at you, but at the whole picture. The divorce. The shuffling between houses. The way Mom cried at night, and told me you chose money over love. I think I clung to Gerald because he made everything simple. He didn't carry history with him. He didn't remind me of what got broken. But you never left. You showed up. Quietly. Steadily. And I used that against you. I made you the safe villain because I thought you'd never strike back. And when you finally did, I realized I had pushed you past the edge of something I didn't understand. I'm not asking for anything. I just wanted you to know. I see it now. I see you. It wasn't long. Barely a page. No dramatic apology. No begging for the car back or the job reinstated. Just words. Honest, tired, unpolished. And somehow, that hit harder than the crying phone calls or the public spectacle. It was the kind of letter you write when you're finally sitting with yourself in a quiet room, without an audience. I folded it back up and placed it in the drawer where I kept old photographs and Father's Day cards from when she was small. Not because I forgave her. Not because I was ready to reopen that door. But because I believed her. And maybe that was enough for now. That weekend, I drove by her new apartment. It wasn't hard to find. A small unit above a coffee shop on the edge of town, with a weathered staircase and hand-painted numbers on the door. I didn't knock. I just parked across the street and watched for a while, like some sad cliché in a movie. She came out around noon, keys in one hand, messenger bag slung over her shoulder. She looked thinner, worn, but not broken. There was something different in her posture, shoulders pulled back, eyes forward. She crossed the street without noticing me and disappeared into the cafe. I didn't follow. Instead, I left a small envelope in her mailbox. Inside, a single folded note. Proud of you for standing. Keep going. Dad. No signature. No money. No offer to come back home. Just acknowledgement. Quiet, like I had always been. Steady. Back at home, I made dinner for one and turned the television on just to fill the silence. I wasn't lonely, not in the way I used to be. I missed her, yes. But I didn't ache for her approval anymore. Somewhere between that handkerchief and this letter, something shifted. I had grieved the version of her I had tried to hold on to. And now, I was meeting the version of her she might finally become. I had no plans to fix what was broken. That wasn't my job anymore. I had taught her how to fall, and more importantly, how to get back up. Whether she came back or not, I had done what I needed to do, not for revenge, but for truth. Sometimes being a father means walking away, not out of spite, but out of love so deep, it refuses to be taken for granted any longer. I took the handkerchief out of the drawer where I'd kept it. It was still neatly folded, the stitching sharp and cruel as ever. Worst dad ever. But it didn't cut the same way anymore. Now, it felt like a badge, proof that I had drawn the line. That I had finally demanded to be seen not as a backup plan, not as a safety net, but as a person who deserved dignity. I placed it back inside the drawer and closed it slowly. Some stories don't end in hugs or reconciliations. Some end with silence, understanding, and a boundary held firm. And that's okay. I had done enough. I had been enough. And for the first time in years, that was finally clear. Not every story ends with reconciliation, but sometimes, holding your boundaries is the only way to heal. What would you have done in his shoes? Drop a comment and let me know if he was justified or if it went too far. And if this story hit home, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more powerful real-life family drama you won't forget. See you soon in the next one.